So if you're dealing with frozen shoulder, you've got to watch this video. My name is Dawn. I'm with New Dawn Exercise Therapy, and normally I would tell you I've worked with a lot of people in the past who've been dealing with frozen shoulder. But today I can tell you it's been me I've been dealing with frozen shoulder. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Twice in this shoulder, once in this side. It's been a long battle, and I want to talk to you about it today and give you some practical tips how I got through it effectively, and also some things that you can use as treatment options, things that I really believe will help you get along a lot more effectively and hopefully get rid of this as quickly as you possibly can. So let's get started. First of all, what is frozen shoulder? Most of us have heard of it, but we're not maybe real clear on what it is. It's technically called adhesive capsulitis, and what that means is this capsule around your shoulder joint just kind of shrinks down. You got this lovely upper arm bone, and then you got it going up into your shoulder, and it's connecting to your shoulder joint by 4 rotator cuff tendons. And then what you've got is connective tissue. And basically that just kind of surrounds the capsule and makes it more secure. When you get adhesive capsulitis, I want you to think about, you know how you can buy those kits that you can kind of insulate your windows in the winter, and you put that plastic on, you take a kind of a blow dryer to get it nice and tight around there. Well, that's basically what is happening. That lovely capsule just kind of shrinks down and everything gets tight and it can't move. And when you try to move, it is incredibly, incredibly painful. So that's what we're talking about. How does it feel? Well, just like I said, if you've had it, if you're dealing with it now, you know it's crazy painful. It's amazingly painful. And I could not comprehend how bad it was until I had it myself. The least little bit of movement, just a tiny little, I mean, you could just move your arm like that and you would just go through the roof. Reaching behind your back, overhead, it's not even an option. You just cannot move that arm. Symptoms, what does it feel like? Well, painful. Symptoms usually come on kind of slow. You'll know something's kind of going on with your shoulder, just doesn't feel quite right. And then it just gets worse. You might find that one day, I know for me with this one, all of a sudden I went to shower one day and reached behind my back and I could not get my arm back there. So usually we start slowly with the symptoms. We're kind of getting into that, what they call the freezing stage. And then things start getting to where you really can't move and it gets really painful and you're kind of frozen. Symptoms will gradually get better if you don't do anything, but usually we're talking this can stick around for anywhere between a year to up to 3 years. A lot of people I've talked to, they've been dealing with it for 2 to 3 years. And then things start to get gradually better. But what I want to talk about today is how can we make that go a lot faster? Nobody wants this for 3 years. What is the cause? Let's talk about that first of all. A lot of times it's if your arm has been immobilized. Say if you break your arm and you're in a sling, if you've had a rotator cuff repair and your arm's had to stay still for a very long time, that can bring it on, just that immobility for quite a while. For me, I had a partial rotator cuff tear and I had to keep my arm still for a little while. So I think that's where I started to bring mine on. And again, I'll talk about my experience here real soon. Secondly, diabetes, thyroid issues, autoimmune disorders. Believe it or not, people who deal with those are more prone to get a frozen shoulder. And that really shocked me. But when I went in to see an orthopedic surgeon about this the first time, he asked me those questions. He says, "You had any thyroid issues? Are you pre-diabetic?" And I'm like, "Why are you asking me this?" And then I did some of my own research and realized that, yep, if you have those issues, you're going to be more prone to having one of your shoulders freeze up. Thirdly, a lot of times we just don't know. It can just truly happen spontaneously, and we just don't know. If you do your own research and read a lot of the literature, it can just happen spontaneously and just kind of go away. Not gradually, but it will go away kind of on its own. It takes its sweet time. Who's more prone to get it? Generally women. I'm not saying men won't get it, but they can. Generally, theirs is a little bit more due to an injury, and then their shoulder can freeze up. But women, usually between the ages of 40 and 65, they're going through those hormonal changes, and those have been shown to really increase joint issues, okay? Women going through perimenopause, hormones are going all over the place. It's been shown that a lot of those women are dealing with this. I've talked with a couple women, and they said, all of a sudden, I woke up one morning, and I felt like my body had fallen apart. And these were athletic women, and they take care of themselves. So we knew something was going on with the hormones, seeing a doctor, getting some things checked out. And we'll be talking about that in just a moment. Research also shows, unfortunately, that up to 30% of people who have one frozen shoulder, the other shoulder will freeze up. And I was in that 30%. And I tell you, it ain't fun. But once you've been through it on one side, I don't know if it's better or worse. I mean, you know what to expect, so it really stinks. But you kind of have some tricks in your bag that you know will help you out and get through it. My experience, it has lasted me a total of about a year and 2 months. Last March, I've always loved strength training. As a personal trainer, I've always been in the gym. I love to lift weights. I love to go heavy. And I've always, tweaked on one side or the other with a rotator cuff. I take it easy for a couple weeks. It gets better. I know what to do. I know how to rehab myself, and almost always it works. But I knew I had tweaked something, and then I did some really weird type of reach up a few weeks later, and I felt a burn, and I'm like, uh-oh, that wasn't good. And I knew I'd probably partially torn a rotator cuff tendon, and I wasn't really happy about that. So I messed around. I did a lot of my rehab. I was trying to stretch, doing all my rehab exercises that I know to do. It was not getting better. And it was getting where it was really hard to move. And I thought, well, it's due to that tear. So I go see an orthopedic surgeon. And the first words I hear out of him after he moves my arm around a little bit, he's like, your shoulder's frozen. And I almost kind of laughed. And I thought, no, I've got a tear. And he goes, no, your shoulder's frozen. So we're going to send you to physical therapy and get it thawed out and get it moving. So I did that for a couple months. Physical therapy went really well. I was really happy with it. And then about a month later, I'm just like, you know what? I still got limited range of motion. I still have a partial tear. I have to figure out what am I going to do with it. I didn't want to do the traditional rotator cuff repair surgery. If you've ever read about that or known somebody who's had it, it's a long process. You're in a sling for a couple of months. There's a lot of things you can't do. I couldn't even walk my dog safely. I couldn't drive my car. I couldn't work with my training clients. I'm like, that's not going to work for me. I'm active. I can't shut my life down. I know what it'll do to me emotionally. It'll send me down into a dark place that I don't want to go. So I started doing my research, and I read about rehabilitative medicine, regenerative medicine. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to try that. PRP, platelet-rich plasma. There had been a lot of research studies I had found that said it did work really well for partial rotator cuff tears in the shoulder. I did a lot of research. I found a practitioner in my area who is really rated top notch. And you know what? I went in for a consult. He did an ultrasound on my shoulder. He's like, yep, you got a partial tear on one tendon and one other tendon is getting ready to go. So he goes, let's inject both of them, and you got to give it time. This is not a quick fix. This is, you got to give your body time to repair itself. I liked that. He spoke my language because we were going to take, basically they take out your blood, they take the platelets out, they spin it down, they get the growth factors in the platelets, and they re-inject it into those tendons. Sounds easy, yeah. It's very painful, I will tell you that now, and I'm going to do another video on my experience with PRP, but I liked giving my body the building blocks that it needed to repair itself. And I knew my tear wasn't so big that it wasn't an option, because if you have a rotator cuff tear that's too large, you won't be able to get that kind of filling in effect with the platelets. So he did my ultrasound. He goes, yep, you'd be a good candidate. So I went in a week later, got it done. He said, let's give it a good month. You can limit your activity a little bit. I knew I was getting better, but something just wasn't right. I was like, I could move better, but I'm like, there's just I just knew, your own body. I'm like, something's just not right. So I go back in for my follow-up appointment, and he did my ultrasound. He goes, you know what? Those two areas we injected are filling in really well. They're healing up well. I said, but I've got a lot of mobility issues. So he did all the various manipulations. He goes, your shoulder's freezing up again. And I was devastated because I know what that's like. And I said, well, can you check this shoulder too? Because a few weeks before, I was in the shower, and you know what? I couldn't move my arm past there. And my shoulder, this one had been giving me some fits, but I thought, it's been having to, just pull all the load from this one being down for a while. But it was that day in the shower where I'm like, oh no, I can't get my arm back there. So I knew something was going on. And I said, well, can you check the shoulder too? So he did the ultrasound. Fortunately, all 4 tendons were intact. There were no tears. But he did all the various manipulations, and he said, that shoulder is freezing as well. I knew from my research that PRP would be a good option to treat frozen shoulders. Okay, so the rotator cuff tendons are healing up great here, but now we got to deal with the frozen shoulders. What are we going to do? So I go in and see him again. He injects both of my shoulders. And I tell you what, that was it. That was what got me started down the road where things, I'm like, hey, things are getting better. So PRP for frozen shoulder, in my experience, was a great thing. I would say probably at the 4-week mark, I was feeling a lot better. My mobility was getting better. My rehab was going great. I was doing physical therapy. I was making really good progress. And now I'm at 3 months out, and I'm lifting weights now that I have not been able to lift in over a year. I'm thrilled about that. I'm so grateful. It is lifted my emotional state up tremendously. If you hate just having to sit on the sidelines and not do anything, if you're a weightlifter and you like being active, you know what it's like. You can only think if you have to be out for a year, how awful it is. So anyway, when this PRP started to kick in and I was going back to weight training, I was thrilled. So right now, I'm probably about 85-90% of where I should be. I'm not really having any problems. So I wanted to share with you my journey and encourage you that if I made it through it, you can make it through it. So what do? I've got 6 tips that I think treatment-wise you should pursue. And then after that, I've got a number of things that are practical ideas, how I got through and kept my sanity, sleeping, things like that. Okay, so let's get started. What to do? Number 1, physical therapy. You've got to do physical therapy. Okay, if your shoulders are frozen, you cannot just sit around and wait for them to thaw out. Physical therapy, they get you moving. They know how to get you safely moving because this is not the time to go crazy. You'll make it worse. You can inflame it even more. So physical therapy. Secondly, I've already mentioned platelet-rich plasma, PRP, and I'm going to do an upcoming video about that. I want to really give you the details of my journey. For me, it was wonderful. Is it extremely painful injection? Yes, it is, okay? Let's be honest. But I like short-term pain for long-term gain, and it was great for me. And I'm also gonna put a link down in the descriptions about who I used in the Southeast Michigan area, because I think that could come in handy for you. You wanna go to somebody who knows their stuff and is gonna do it right. You want good results if you're gonna do this. Third, a cortisone injection. I know sometimes doctors feel like that will help a lot, and I've read a lot of research that says yes, people have good luck with a cortisone injection. Can help settle down the inflammation. I didn't do that because, as you'll find out, if you're going to do PRP, you can't have any anti-inflammatories for 2 weeks before and 4 weeks after. So anti-inflammatories for me were out for quite a while because I knew that's the route I wanted to go. Okay, so cortisone could be a helpful thing. Speaking of anti-inflammatories, that could be an option for you. Okay, if you're not going to be doing PRP for a while, an anti-inflammatory those first few months is what got me through it because everything hurt so incredibly bad. I needed a little help with that. Not a painkiller, but I wanted to get the inflammation down. Okay, and I wasn't taking crazy high doses. I think I was doing 400 milligrams in the morning and 400 at night. For me, that helped, so consider that. For women, hormone replacement therapy, believe it or not. Okay, I started to investigate that, some bioidenticals, because I thought, I had done, and I'll speak about this in a moment, but I had done some research with an orthopedic surgeon down in Florida, and she had done a lot of work with women who are going through perimenopause, who did a lot of work with bioidentical hormones, and they were getting really good results with that. So that's also going to be an upcoming video, but consider that as an option. Vitamin D, okay, that if we're talking about anything that you're going to take. Vitamin D, my vitamin D levels I found out were really, really, really low. And research has a lot of good things to say about vitamin D, so I started supplementing with vitamin D. And that really was helpful, I believe, for me as well, getting my musculoskeletal system healthy again. And then finally, time, okay? You gotta be patient. I'm not a patient person, so try to be patient with this as you work through it. You're gonna get better. You're gonna have a lot of days where you're like, no, I'm not gonna ever get better again. When I was trying to just lift a 1 or 2 pound dumbbell and I couldn't even do that, I swear, I'm like, I'll never lift. Today I lifted a 12 pound weight like that, both sides. I didn't think I'd ever get back there, ever. So be patient, okay? What are my practical tips? Because I've been through this a lot. Get a shower brush, all right? Because showering, reaching behind my back was not gonna be happening. Now I've got good range of motion. I can get back there with my washcloth or loofah or whatnot. I like to wash my back. Maybe if you got someone around who likes to wash your back, great. But every time I wanted to take a shower, I couldn't grab my husband. So I bought a shower brush with a really long handle, and that helped me keep my back clean. Washing my hair, I had to do it upside down every single time because getting my arms over my head wasn't gonna happen, so flipping your head upside down. If you're a woman, you better hook that bra in the front because you're not going to be able to get those arms back there. So you hook it in the front and you spin it around and you do your best to get those straps on, okay? Zip up sports bras. There was no way I was going to be able to get out of a pull over my head sports bra when it was sweaty. So I found some that were zip up style, and that greatly saved my shoulders. T-shirts, you know, I'm a personal trainer. I do a lot of group fitness. I love to exercise. But you know, even this t-shirt probably wasn't gonna work. You have to have t-shirts with really, really loose sleeves, because if you try to pull out of this t-shirt or flip it over your head a normal way, your shoulders aren't gonna do it. So I ended up going to the store and I bought a bunch of t-shirts, 2 sizes bigger than what I normally wear. So I could just do this and slip out of it and keep my elbows really close to my sides. You have to think about that, okay? Because pulling it off the normal way is not going to work. A lot of my pain was during the winter and during the colder months. So putting on a jacket and a sweater was incredibly challenging. I got used to, okay, this arm was doing a little better for a while. I got used to putting that arm in first and not, you know, because I was so good about, oh, just flip my sleeves in. You're gonna have to get creative. You might have to use your other arm to put your jacket or your sweater on. That's okay, you can do it. Temporarily moving dishes down from high shelves. That wasn't gonna work either. So I don't like chaos, but I had to do it for a while. Put those dishes down where you can just reach them. My husband actually, I have a thing that holds all my lids for my containers. My husband actually put a little wire on it so it hung down and I could just kind of pull it out really easy. So you may have to do that for a little while. Even my dog food container, like I could not reach down and in. So I had to move a lot of things around so I wouldn't hurt my shoulders as they were healing. Okay, keep that in mind. What else? When you're sitting, you're gonna have to be really careful, because sitting up like this might be okay, but you might have to really get those shoulders back, because the least little bit of rounding, my shoulders got angry really fast. It's like the head of that humerus, the least little bit of pressure on it, and it's like it got really ticked off really fast. So you might have to do a lot of work with your shoulders, pulling them back, okay? I got a couple of massages from a sports medicine person who really knew what they were doing. That did help when this one was thawing out the first time. Was a great thing. Consider massage. Sleeping. I would love to say that I had just great sleep the whole time, but I didn't. My sleep was awful. I know a lot of people will say, well, just sleep on the side that doesn't hurt. And for a while when this wasn't hurting, I thought, well, I'll try it. It didn't work, because this affected shoulder kept rolling a little bit, or it'd roll too far back, and it didn't matter how many pillows I used, it wasn't working. And then when I had both shoulders inflamed, good luck. I didn't have luck sleeping on my back either, because it seemed like the head of that humerus would just not find the right spot. What I found worked for me was I propped up a bunch of pillows on the bed, and I kind of just kept myself angled up quite high, a lot. Some nights it got so bad I had to sleep in a recliner, or I even would keep that recliner oftentimes just propped up, and I'd have a pillow over here and just turn my head a little bit, because I'm a side sleeper. But none of the tips I found online was working for me. So you might have to just really prop yourself up in bed, or sleep up in a recliner. I hate to tell you that, but I'm just being real with you, okay? This thing I've been holding most of the video is a pulley, a door pulley. You can get this through Amazon for like $7, $8. This was a great thing, because you want to keep moving, okay? You got to keep moving. This pulley will allow you to just kind of do some assisted motion. You'll have a good arm, hopefully, and not have both at the same time. But you'll be able to do a lot of things. Your physical therapist will tell you about it. The key is to keep moving, but not overdo it. So the pulley is a beautiful thing, okay? If you like to work out a lot, you have to be like I was. You have to think about what you can do. Okay, I could still work my core, I could still work my legs, I could still walk, I could still get on the elliptical. But my upper body strength kind of went to heck, and I hated that. It was awful, but I'm getting it back, okay? You have to be patient with this. A lot of things you can still do, though your physical therapist will give you rotator cuff work, the internal, external with the band, okay? I did a lot of stuff with the band in front of me doing my rows. Because anything you get to do to pull those shoulder blades back and get you stronger, and what we call kind of scapular retraction, is good. I was doing a lot of wall push-ups, okay, until I could get back to my normal stuff. I want you to remember that you're not alone, okay? There's so many people out there dealing with this. As a personal trainer, I have finally gone through this, so I have a lot more compassion for people, because I know it's the real deal. Chronic pain is not a joke, okay? It does something to you. And it can be hard to not get really depressed. Because for me, I know working out was one of the things that I used in my toolbox to fight depression and anxiety. And I had to kind of say goodbye to that for quite a while, and that was not easy. But like I said, I found earlier in the video, I found a female orthopedic surgeon in Florida, and I'll put the information for her down below in the description. And she started to talk about, are you a woman? Are you going through perimenopause? Are your shoulders frozen? And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do you have to say? I had to find out. So she started talking about all the things that I've been telling you: physical therapy, PRP, hormone replacement, just the right type of movement for your body for where you're at. And then I started to go through some of her message boards on Instagram. There were hundreds of women who are going through the exact same thing that I was. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. I'm not falling apart, thank goodness. And for me, I get encouraged when I realize there's a lot of people out there going through what I'm going through who know how I feel, and they're sharing what's working for them. And that's why I wanted to do this video today, because I really wanted to share with you what has worked for me. Okay, so in the description, I'm going to give you the names of that gal, that orthopedic surgeon in Florida, and then the guy that I used for my PRP. I believe in him and trust in him 100%. They're fantastic. And again, future videos to talk about bioidentical hormones and women's musculoskeletal health and PRP. So that's it. I hope this has been encouraging for you. I feel for you if you're going through this. It's awful, but I want to encourage you. You're going to make it, okay? You're going to make it. I know you are. If I can do anything for you, get in touch, and I wish you a great rest of your day.